Okay. I will hit, okay. Hello and welcome to Premed Office Hours, another episode. This is 159. We are here to answer any of your questions live. There is Christine who is joining us. And my name's Courtney Lewis. I will be kind of moderating or hosting while Ryan is gallivanting across Europe. And so thank you for joining us. Feel free to start entering your questions into the chat, whatever platform you're watching from, YouTube TV, things like that. We will answer them live here. I will let you guys introduce yourselves. So my name is Courtney Lewis, prior director of admissions at a medical school. I joined MSHQ and MAPT about a year ago in a week. So this is kind of my first cycle out where I didn't matriculate a class. It's been great, but kind of weird. But I've got the first year under my belt. I will go to Christine. You want to go next?
Sure. I'm Christine Crispin, and I also am a former director of admissions at a med school, and I also am a former admissions committee member. So I just joined MSHQ and MAPT like a month and a half ago. So I'm excited to be here and, see how I can help you.
Great. And then Verinia?
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
So happy to be here with you all. My name is Verinia Granum. I'm a former assistant dean in pre-health advising at Hofstra University here in New York. I've been with MAP 2 years now. Courtney, I can't believe it's been a year for you already, almost.
Yeah, it
I
went
feel
by
like
really quick.
Right? I feel like I just started. So I just finished 2 years here, and glad to be here. Looking forward to helping some of our fellow pre-meds during this next hour.
Yep. So this is kind of a stressful time in the cycle. Obviously, all of the platforms are now open. Hopefully, you've got your applications submitted by this time, but if not, we're here to help. Ask your questions because you need to get it in quickly at this point because time will start to kind of compound on itself. So if you have any of those questions, ask them now. If you are doing the cycle for the 2023, 2024, 2024 matriculation date. So this current cycle that is open for ACOMAS, AMCAS, and TMD SAS for the Texas schools. But if you are still a pre-med or non-trad or not looking to apply this cycle and apply in the future, we can still answer those questions. And you've got some time to do that. So first question, Vishal, how many credits per year is reasonable during undergrad? So fairly vague. There's a lot that we'll kind of assume for kind of normal track student. Anybody want to take this one?
Sure, I can take a shot at this one, Vishal. So I worked with a lot of undergrads, science STEM majors. Typically, depending on your school, credits per year is about 30 to 34, right? So about 15 to 17 per semester. That's a lot. That's a lot to carry with a science classes as well. So it's really important to kind of balance that out with yes, taking enough credit so that you graduate on time, but also so that it's manageable for you. But so if we're talking reasonable, it's really based on whatever it is that you need to do to be able to graduate on time, right? So again, anywhere from 15 to 17 credits, balancing that with the rigor of those courses. So maybe just doing 2 sciences, at most maybe 3, depending on your major. Trying to take on 3, 4, 5 heavy duty science classes is probably not advisable. So make sure you work with an advisor to kind of balance out your schedule.
Yeah, what I saw a lot kind of coming in is people would want to get all of their gen ed requirements done and under the belt freshman year and things like that, and then move on.
Get them over with.
Sometimes it's kind of nice to have a couple of those to stick in between your really hard science classes there at the end, where it's nice to have a PE credit or a lower level sociology class or something that just fascinates you, and having that still fulfill one of the requirements. So sometimes it's nice to have those buffers. So yes, work with an advisor to map that out. Obviously, you know, depending on when you want to take your MCAT, that's going to kind of dictate how science coursework needs to be laid out for you, but other things can be flexible depending. So
Yeah.
at least be full-time if possible for an undergrad. All right, next question.
Thanks.
All right, Mary, I have a 3.2 science GPA and a 3.46 cumulative from UF. I want to pursue an online microbiology master's program during my gap year. What are your guys' thoughts on the fact that it's an online program? Thank you. Christine, you want to take it?
Yeah, I will. I was just thinking about it. You know, I don't have bad thoughts about online programs. And so I think it's always going to depend on what the medical schools you apply to are going to think about. The rigor, all of that stuff is going to come into play. And so it doesn't matter what I think of it. I think it could potentially be fine, but it's going to really depend on what the medical schools think about it. There are many online programs that are very good. So, you know, it's kind of a 50-50 chance somebody is going to like it or not. You know, it's just that simple.
Yeah, I think I would add to that, Mary, just do your research. Start looking at the medical schools that you're interested in and take a look and see what, what their rules or what their requirements are around coursework. Some schools don't accept online coursework. Some schools may not accept community college coursework. So just start doing some research from now. Take a look at those schools that you're interested in. You can find that information on MSAR or on their website and see. If it's a school that doesn't accept online classes, you have to decide how, do I really want to go to this school? Am I willing to give up this online master's just because this school doesn't accept it? Or am I willing to say, I need to do this master's because I need to, improve my grades or whatever it may be, and just look at other schools that will be willing to accept those online classes. So it's really up to you. Like Christine was saying, it really doesn't matter what we think about it. It ultimately is going to depend on whether or not the school will accept the online classes. Good luck, though.
Yeah. And since it is a master's, hopefully you've already completed all of your prereqs in person with the lab components. And so this is just kind of supplementary to that. If you are looking for GPA boosters and things like that, you may want to do in-person type programs so that you're interacting with professors, you can get letters of recommendation. So I think just last to kind of add in, the goal or the purpose of pursuing this master's, make sure it fits the type of program and will help you with whatever need you may have for doing it. Okay, next question. How do we say that name? I'm so sorry.
Aliu, maybe?
Aliu?
Okay, that's okay. Sorry if we're butchering that. I really apologize. Okay, as a nursing student, I had to do research for my bachelor's degree. Does this count as research in my application? This is a very common question. So, thoughts on this? It can vary sometimes, but
it does vary. I think it depends on the research itself, but any research experience is valuable. So yes, absolutely. It will help you in the future as a future scientist, physician, whatever that may be. So I would say yes. I think it's an important experience, and absolutely it'll benefit you. In general, research is not something that we emphasize, right? We'd say it's something that you should do if you're interested in it. It's beneficial for you. And since you've done it actually as part of your bachelor's degree, I think you're good. I think you're good to go.
So one question I know I get a lot in sessions with students is, if I received academic credit for it, can I put it in my activity section, or is there a rule against it? So can we answer that question? Because that may be kind of a logical follow-up that we're going to get from this.
You know, when I was at Irvine, we used to have a course that we would refer our postbacks to. It was like Bio 199, Bio 90, whatever the number was, that they received academic credit for. But it was basically a year-long research program that they conducted research with the faculty, and we did encourage them to put it on their application because so I would lean toward yes, it still counts even if they received academic credit.
Yeah. Yeah, Hofstra did something similar with biology majors too, and it was definitely research experience. You're in the lab with a professor, so yeah, it counts.
Many times that results in a presentation and like a student
Mhm.
symposium or
Mhm.
something like that. So yeah, it absolutely counts.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ellie.
Hopefully that's helpful. Let's move on. Daniel, I understand that secondary should ideally turned around within 2 weeks, I guess. Be turned around in 2 weeks. I received one before my primary application was verified. That sounds,
Mhm.
yeah, that is starting this year.
Mhm.
Would that 2 weeks start at the receipt date or verification date? Thanks.
Good question. I don't think I've encountered this one yet, this cycle. That's a
Yeah,
great question.
I'm assuming that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming that this is probably an ACOMAS DO application because this year they were
Mhm.
allowing completed, submitted applications that were in the verification process, at least for schools to have access to limited bits of information. So if they wanted to send you secondaries or contact you, they would at least have that limited bit of contact information to be able to do so. So I would say it's, I mean, the answer is the sooner the better, as long as it's polished, is going to be kind of universal. The faster you can turn around any and all of these, with the caveat of it being polished and ready to go, will always be better than counting 2 weeks to the day. But we understand all of these things overlap. You have to prioritize. I would say I'm anticipating that they're going to want to see a verified completed application at the time that they're doing consideration for interviews, but that is an assumption based on my prior experience. So I would say either timeline is going to be okay, but the sooner is better. So anybody else have anything to add to that?
I think
Yeah.
the only thing that I would add is in terms of priority, get the ones that you actually have, just get them out of the way. Don't even, I think it's almost like you're splitting hairs with 2 weeks from the receipt date or verification date. I would do it well, polish it, submit it, and then move on to continuing to pre-write if you're still in verification. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't stress over that as much as just, as Courtney said, polishing it and getting it in.
Yep. They do get a lot of attention. They are very important. So don't just sling them back in. I definitely got some of those in my day, and it's not a good showing, especially if you've done all of this work to get to this point and then you fall really flat and it's very unpolished for the only school specific questions we get to come up with and ask you. So don't do that. They need attention, but clear your plate as often as you can. Don't just sit on things. And if you can retool and repurpose, great. A lot of these things will kind of carry over, but I wouldn't let them build up, like Christine was saying. Okay, next one. Annan. My last coursework was approximately 8 years ago, but I've been in a research PhD since then. Is a strong MCAT, 95th percentile, 3.9 GPA, and a PhD enough, or should I consider a postbac and coursework? Our favorite word, enough. That's, I guess, for AdComs to figure out, do you feel like it's enough to apply? Because if you feel like you can put forward a strong application to justify why you're on this path, what your academics look like, and remove any barriers or risk factors, then technically it should be enough. But it's kind of an interesting word to use.
Well, and I'm curious they said that their last coursework was around 8 years ago, and they've done a research PhD since then. I'm assuming prereq coursework was 8 years ago. This might be a situation where some schools may want to see more recent work in the sciences specifically. Some schools have policies around how old your prereq courses need to be. So I would start with researching that first, seeing kind of getting a general sense of, is it okay that my courses are 8 years old? Do I need to do something more recent? You can even call admissions offices directly and just kind of see if you can get someone on the phone and just generally speaking, here's my situation. What would you advise? But that might be an issue. So look up some of the schools that you're interested in. Check out, like I said, on MSAR, they might have information on their website on how old these courses are or should be, and then potentially consider taking some more recent upper division sciences, if that's the case. But like you said, Courtney, is it enough? That's not for us to tell. Sure, on screen, it sounds like enough, but it will depend by school. It will vary.
Generally, if you're hitting about the 10-year mark, things are going to start expiring for some schools.
Yep.
So if you're not applying this year, but you're applying next year for then the matriculation year that following year, some of your coursework may start to be considered expired. So if you need to take those foundational coursework, even if you had a strong MCAT, to hit that 10-year mark, because things will start timing out at the time of potential matriculation, then get started on it now, so you're not having to do everything on top of each other. But there's only some schools to consider that. So
I would also be curious to know too what a research PhD is. Is it in biology? Is it in biochemistry? So then you are taking technically upper division, because usually even with the research PhD, there's probably some coursework that you take before you go into research. So there may be some wiggle room with that as well.
Yeah. Okay.
David Green. Hey, MAP team. Hello. My university offers biochemistry 1 and medical biochemistry. Is medical biochemistry accepted in place of med school biochemistry prerequisites? Are both equally helpful for the MCAT?
I think this might depend on the school, honestly, what they'll accept.
My gut reaction went to how it's categorized. Sometimes I would see medical biochemistry like for nurses or for health professions and things like that, where the biochemistry was actually condensed instead of taking something that was actually under like the chemistry department and it was the full course, which I would think you would get a lot more out of the full course and would run into fewer barriers or gray areas just taking Biochem 1 within that department versus trying to fit in a medical biochemistry that may be listed under a different department.
I would agree with that, Courtney. And I would also say my gut is that the regular biochemistry is what's probably best for the MCAT.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
So less risk is probably with the regular biochem.
Yeah.
Okay, so hello, I am going to start college in January. I have some time to do something beneficial. I'm volunteering for a clinic right now. What else can I do to add my med school application in the future? Well, generally, we talk about experience and activities being from college on. I guess, do we count the summer before entering freshman year?
I think so. It depends on what they're doing. But anything post high school.
I said kind of a gray area, but if it's something that continues on for a prolonged period of time into college, I can see that encompassing those dates.
Yeah. And, post high school graduation in the summer, things, volunteering for a clinic is great. Even if, let's say, you can't necessarily use it for your application, so to speak, in quotes, it's still valuable experience because you're learning how to work with people, how to work with patients. So don't worry so much about what can I put in my application, but what can I do right now that's going to set me up for to be able to explore this field, to be successful here, and develop some of my interpersonal and intrapersonal skills too. So anything where you can be around patients, anything where you can help others, serve others in some way, is always going to be a great opportunity for you. So volunteer in your community, get some shadowing done if you can. You're doing the right thing right now by volunteering at a clinic, but anything else where you're, like I said, working with people, learning about the field and serving others in some ways is going to be extremely beneficial for you.
Yeah, I think maybe this is an overgeneralized statement, but I wish pre-meds were aware of how valuable just pure community volunteer experiences. Just getting out, Habitat for Humanity, soup kitchens, Humane Society, charity organizations, just getting to learn about people in the community and different populations, potentially getting out of your comfort zone, understanding some of the barriers that people face or the challenges that people face every day. That is valuable, not just for college or for your own personal growth. It carries with you, as Vernia was saying, into med school, and it's something that med schools really value because you gain that insight. And as a service-oriented profession, being a physician, where you are there to help anybody who walks in your door, sometimes it's nice to kind of start those things earlier on. So if you're working on a clinic, maybe look at some initiatives that you're really passionate about, or things that are going to be in that area for college that you can kind of start getting some hours. Doesn't have to be a ton, but some hours in that will collect over time, or kind of setting yourself up to maybe in the future, 2 years from now, getting a leadership position because you've put in the time and effort and being involved. So doesn't have to be anything super expensive. Make sure you are ready to start college because your grades will matter. This setting of the GPA is going to be very important this first year of school. So make sure you're not overextending yourself. You're being smart about how you are setting yourself up for your academics. But then beyond that, those would be some suggestions, at least from me. Anybody else have anything else we want to add to what Vernia said?
The only thing that I would say is pay attention to this clinic experience as well, because that also may kind of confirm whether medicine is really the path that you want to take.
Yeah.
It's okay to deviate from that path if you realize this is not the best experience or it's not the right thing for you.
Yep, that's a great point. And whatever you do, with every experience that you have, as you're winding down at the end of your day, take a few minutes and jot some notes down about what you observed, what you learned, what you liked, what you didn't like. That kind of reflection is what's going to help you understand, hey, whether or not this is for you. And it'll help you down the road later when you have to write about these experiences in your application and reflect. So take a few moments at the end of the day just to debrief and write down a few things, observations of the day. You'll appreciate it later.
Start your mapped account. You can journal in it. It'll have supervisor, hours, dates, brief notes about the experience and things. These are all things that you're going to need for your application. And sometimes it's hard to remember what you did the summer before your freshman year when you are 4 years down the road. So start your mapped account. It's free. Start journaling. Anytime you do anything in any of the applicable categories for med school activities that you're going to have to recount there.
That's a great point. That's something you can do now. Create a mapped account. Go to map.com, get a free account. And as Courtney was saying, you can fill that out and start journaling right in there, keeping track of all those experiences. And you can get a 30-day free trial at map.com using the code 30daysfree.
Yeah, and so that's for the pro, right? That's for access to us to be able to talk in advisor chat. Not all of the times you need that, but we are always here and available. So if that's something you want, that is it's a small fee, but it's a small upgrade fee. But the rest of MAPS, like the journaling and the GPA charting and the academics, all of that is free, will always be free. So you can
Forever.
open an account and have access to everything that you would need as an incoming freshman, probably. Unless you don't have a good pre-health advisor, and then by all means,
We're
join
here.
us. Okay, anything else?
All right. Let's see. Any more? There we go.
Okay, Jackie, what kinds of questions would an admissions director or faculty member like to hear at a conference? So if you are participating, you're coming to MapCon and you are tabling, you're going around to all of the tables, talking to all of our friends, our deans and directors that we're familiar with all of the medical schools that we're going to have there. Everybody go to MapCon. It's the best way to advocate for yourself and get one-on-one time with these schools. You need to go and do it in person. Anyways, that's coming up in October. But what kinds of questions would you suggest?
I would think something about what does a successful student look like that has been admitted to your program? You know, what are the characteristics of a successful pre-med and or med student? Just trying to really get an idea of who are they bringing into the program and what are their characteristics. And I really don't love questions about how many hours should I do this and how many hours should I do that. That's so subjective and variable, but more about in the big picture, who is getting admitted to your program? What do they look like, and how, you know, things like that. Talk about the mission and talk about, you know, who's the population that they serve, and that kind of an answer should guide you on some of the things that you should think about doing as a pre-med student. If you really are interested in a program, figure out what they care about and make sure that you have kind of checked the boxes of things that they seem to care about.
Yep. So I always liked questions that, you know, I could tell people were actually interested, or maybe that they at least kind of looked up some of this stuff, or that,
Yes.
you know, it's nice to know that you're at least on somebody's radar. But if not, and you're going in kind of blind and you need just generalized questions, I agree. Things that, you know, what are you proud of the students for being involved in that you want to kind of see these continuing cohorts kind of carry on or further develop or kind of emulate, because that gives them a chance to bring up something really positive. How, you know, what's some coursework that you think is really valuable, or things that to go over that you found is helpful. I agree with kind of the population and regional health and having some experience there, learning about their mission. I don't know, just asking them things where they can recount really positive type things, you know. But what
if there's a specialized program that you're interested in, maybe you're interested in narrative medicine or humanities in medicine, talk about that. Give them a chance to talk about that. If you're fairly confident that they have that kind of program, again, do a little bit of research if you can.
Definitely check out their website, identify some programs that you're curious about, genuinely curious about it, and ask about it, and ask about your experiences and how do they fit in with those programs. And, you know, not, like Christine was saying, not, you know, do I have enough hours, or, you know, things like that, but hey, I've worked with this population, I have this interest in this population, does this program help me prepare in some way to continue that work, or, you know, things like that. So definitely research the school, and come prepared with some general questions about those specific programs. It'll show your interest. It'll show your that you've done your homework and you're familiar with what they have to offer.
Yeah, and having come from a lesser known school at the beginning of my career and things, I understood that people hadn't heard of my school. It was newer at the time, and so, but I was there to talk to people, right? My whole goal in being there was to interface. So if somebody didn't know anything but came in ready to hear about it, wanting to know kind of options that were available, what school looked like and things like that, and they were engaging, we had a great conversation. I admitted people based off of those purely one-off conversations where they ended up later applying, and now they are in later years of med school or graduated. And so it's, even if you don't have pre-formatted questions, don't let that stop you from going up and at least hearing what somebody has to say about their school and letting them kind of tell you about it, and then build questions from there, if nothing else, because they are there to talk to you. So even though it may seem very intimidating, have a good conversation. Learn about the school. That's the whole point of setting these things up for both parties. So,
Sorry.
okay. That's okay.
Ooh,
What schools will be at MapCon? All of them.
great question. Yeah, yeah,
A ton of them.
the
Do we
best.
have a list somewhere? Do we have a list so far?
Not
I don't
that
know
I
if
have.
it's on the website or not. But I mean, it's more and more joining every day. It's going to be really big. I would say right now, as a participant, you're going to get a lot of FaceTime.
Mhm.
So as more participants join us, we're not expecting to have like huge sellouts where you're like fighting crowds or anything like that. But there's going to be workshops. There's going to be, a lot of FaceTime with these schools. I know some deans and directors that are coming to the event. It's not just recruiters or interns or anything like that. Like, they are actually sending decision makers to this conference because they know that they're going to be able to interface with the pool that they want to, which is pre-med students, right? It's very targeted. It's very worth their while. So let's make it worth their while. You guys show up. We're going to do CPR. We're going to do workshops. We're going to do the workshops will be like personal statement, mock interviews. We're doing panels with MD, DO, Texas. We're doing coaching sessions. There's way to meet other pre-meds. I think we're doing like CPR training, and then tabling, where you guys get to talk to all of our friends who have agreed to come. And there are a lot of med schools coming. So
Yeah,
we'd
just
like to continue providing this service. So we need you guys to join us and advocate for yourselves.
yeah, just check out the website. We'll post the schedule on there if it's not already there, as well as some of the schools that will be in attendance. But as you were saying, Courtney, it's just large enough so that everyone can come and benefit from it, but also small enough that you will be able to have that one-on-one face-to-face time. So it's not like you said, you're not battling 10,000 people to try to talk to someone. You'll have an opportunity to have that FaceTime and really talk to people. So check it out, mapcon.com, in October in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah. And if I know I've said this before, maybe not on this platform, but you guys need to think about the type of people that serve on admissions committees or decision makers. They like in person, right? When so many things have gone virtual, it's so hard to get time where you can actually build rapport in person, show them that you're not really socially awkward and cringy, right? But just have some time to converse with each other. That goes so far in just that comfort level and that reducing of risk, because you're just around somebody and being able to have a conversation. So, older generations, they like the in-person, and it's worth your time. It's worth your time to do. So, okay, let's move on if we have one. Albert, I had been accepted into medical school earlier this year, but had the acceptance rescinded recently due to a drop in my GPA during my last semester. Is there any advice for me? This is really challenging. I'm really sorry to hear this. It can happen, right? As we are seeing here. So any advice for Albert?
I think first and foremost, we need to assess why your GPA dropped and make sure that there is corrective action. So if this was your senior year and you're graduating, you may have to assess your overall academic profile. Do you need to go to post-bac or things like that? If you're a junior and you have another year, again, I really do think assessing why it dropped and taking care of that first is like mission critical. Things will happen, I get that, but you always want to kind of know why and be able to fix it. That would be my first piece of advice.
Yeah, agreed. I think taking some time, potentially taking a little bit of a break too. So if you're still in school, graduate, maybe take another, year or so to assess that and give yourself some distance and time from whatever happened that caused your GPA to drop, and then potentially looking into taking some additional coursework to show an upward trend in your GPA. But this is also I'm glad, Albert, that you're asking this, because I think it shows also that, getting into medical school, it doesn't just automatically, the process doesn't end there, right? Things like this, if you're still in school, it's so important to still continue to do well in those classes, so that something like this doesn't happen. Unfortunately, Albert, it's unfortunate you had to go through this, but I feel like sometimes students forget that part. They think, oh, I got in, I can just kind of sit back now and just coast the rest of the time that I have left in school. And that's not always the case, because you can have your acceptance rescinded, unfortunately, as we see here. So Albert, take a step back, as Christine was saying, figure out what happened and try again. Give yourself some time and try again.
And it may be something where it's beneficial to meet with one of us, right? Where we're able to actually see your academic profile, put it together. We're able to kind of discuss the nuances of your situation to kind of tailor that advice. Because, if we're just kind of giving you generalized advice, it's going to be, we're still going to say it's dependent on a number of factors. So if that would be helpful, we are always available to kind of take a look and give you tailored advice for your specific situation. So good luck. It is doable. Okay. Astrid, can I include international shadowing from my shadowing experience if I also have a good amount of shadowing I did in the US? Yes.
Yeah.
Short answer, yes.
Yes.
Yep. It's fine.
And I'm glad that you said that you did a good amount of shadowing within the US. They are going to want to see US trained physicians, US practices, hospitals, roles and responsibilities, so that you know what you're kind of getting into, what you're going to be trained in. But yeah, you can include international shadowing. Just make sure that in your description, and hopefully in what you did not step outside what you were trained for. We don't like hearing, like, as cool as that may sound, like, and I got to participate in surgery where I was doing this, this, and this. You haven't been trained for that. So while you were able to have people that you were working on that, were in a circumstance where they were kind of at that discretion, we don't want to hear about it. Hopefully you didn't do that, but just know that that's not something to brag about. Okay. Straightforward. Good question, Astrid. Next. Okay, Lion. Would getting a job or research at the medical school I want to go to, would my odds of getting in be higher? And would it look bad towards other medical schools? So it doesn't look bad to other medical schools. People do stuff at teaching hospitals, research facilities, labs, different affiliations all the time. So we can knock that one out. No, it doesn't look bad to other schools. That is the nature of higher education and what things are available to you at the time that you can participate. So any thoughts on the first part of this?
I would like, having come out of a medical school, I would like to think, no, that really you should be admitted on your merits. But I mean, I think the advantage that you have is you do get to know people in a professional way, kind of like, going to MapCon and doing some of these other things we've been talking about. It certainly does help you in the sense of getting to know the dean of admissions if you're working in an office that kind of puts you in alignment with them, even knowing different faculty, that if you're doing research or something on the medical school, having them write a letter on your behalf, all of those things can be very beneficial. Does it increase your odds? I still think the totality of your application should be strong, so I wouldn't necessarily lay all my cards on that medical school coming through, but it certainly could. There are benefits to it, I would say.
Definitely.
There were plenty of people that were very well connected that did not receive seats, but rapport can help. Definitely. I agree completely.
And on that same note, remember that these people, just as you're trying to get to know them, they're going to get to know you. So make sure that your behavior is reflecting the type of candidate you're going to be. You need to be on on your P's and Q's the entire time. So keep that in mind.
And remember, it is a small campus in that world, and you never know who knows whom. So even if you are not necessarily interacting with the admissions team and you have a bad interaction with who you think is a random person, they still may know the admissions team. So 100% of the time with 100% of the people, you should be on your best behavior.
Absolutely.
Just be a good, respectful human being. Easy. Just do that.
That's it.
Let's just do that. Let's just do that if we're aspiring physicians. Okay.
In general.
Or just in general.
That's a good life lesson to have.
Yeah. Let's just be decent human beings. Okay.
That's a great life lesson.
All right. So maybe this would be a good time to kind of talk about our interview prep.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. So this is the time of year that, you're all hopefully submitted your primary, you're working on secondaries, returning those secondaries, and thinking ahead to interview prep, if not already potentially having received offers for interviews, right? So we here at MAPT and Medical School Headquarters have lots of resources for interview prep, mock interview practice. We actually have a workshop tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, all about preparing for interviews. So you can register for that at premedevents.com. You can find that information there. We're going to have a banner up in a few minutes for that. And we actually also have an interview prep sale. So right now through Monday the 17th, 20% off mock interview sessions with any one of us. We have lots of experience on staff that can with advisors that can help you, sit with you, go through some practice questions, traditional style, MMI style, whatever practice you'd like to have. We have a sale right now. So 20% off interview prep. You can go to medicalschoolhq.net to see that information there. It's a flash sale through Monday the 17th, and come check out the workshop tomorrow as well. That one is free, so that one anyone can attend. 3:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. You can register for that on premedevents.com.
Yep. So we will be posing questions to audience members. So you're going to hop on with us, and we're going to ask you a question. And kind of put you on the spot, but it's meant to kind of give you practice and simulate what it's actually going to be. This is one area doing mock interviews can greatly impact your performance the day of. So you need to practice verbalizing some of these thoughts, some of these experiences, being put on the spot and having to recall information and vocalize it, while still maintaining a nice face while you're doing it. You need practice is imperative for interviews. Some people can be as prepared as possible, make it to this point, and they're like, you know what, they need another year. You know, that interview just really didn't resonate with me. What a bummer. After being so prepared and then coming in and just falling flat on some of these questions and thinking that, you know, I had ideas for this, but it just didn't come out right. Come and practice. Practice, 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 either with us, or if you need to be cringy, do it with your phone. Record yourself. There's prompts on MSHQ where it will be a question generator. Record your response. See if you like the answer. Practice.
Let me just say, as a person who sat on an admissions committee for 5 years, that is a bad interview can damage a fantastic application.
Yes, it can.
If you can't articulate answers, if you aren't, if you aren't able to articulate answers to a variety of questions, that really can derail everything that you've done. I've had many conversations where I've read a bad interview report.
Yep.
And what I've told students is, you got the interview, right? They're
Yes,
interested. They like you.
like
They're
you.
interested. The interview
Yes.
now is just to see that you're a live person and to see how you can they picture you with a patient? Can they picture you in their class, right? So you don't want to blow that. Right.
This is your opportunity to confirm who you are on paper. This is your opportunity to get to know them. You may not like us either. It's okay.
That's true.
So
that's a good point.
But yeah, this is critically important. Practice, prep, probably not even just on the phone, but
yeah,
live
with a
person.
having somebody pose a question.
Yep.
Just off the cuff. Yep.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference, you guys. A huge difference. The soft skills, the experiences that you're recalling, the different categories of questions, just you'll never know exactly what to expect, but there are certain categories and certain ways and strategies and just comfort level, right? Can you hold a conversation? Is it really awkward to talk to you? Are you so nervous that you're just shut down?
Yes.
That's going to be problematic because we can't start from ground zero and then teach you all the medical stuff in first and second year and then throw you into a functioning hospital third and fourth year for your rotations and think that you're going to function if you can't handle a stressful conversation for 30 minutes. Those don't go together. So come and practice with us. Let us put you on the spot. Get the nerves out now. Get some tips for how to answer questions, and then repeat. Okay.
That's
all right.
it.
Are there any more questions that have been coming in or anything? Okay, Trevor. I have 2.5 years of medical scribing experience, but quit earlier this year. I want to try another clinical job to work at in case I'm not accepted this cycle. What jobs should I look at?
Okay.
Well, depends on the rest of your application. Maybe something hands-on. Scribing can be somewhat observational in nature, so it's different than being like a medical assistant or something like that, where EMT, phlebotomist, CNA, something where you're actually interfacing directly with the patient, not just in the room typing into the EMR. So that might be helpful. Another thing to think about is where you did the medical scribing experience. Maybe it's just a shift in setting, right? You were in a hospital, you were in the ER, now you're going to a primary care private practice or an outpatient clinic or pain management center. Anything like that can be a change in patient population, a change in day-to-day. You'll get very different views of what a physician kind of looks like within those different roles, specialties, settings. So maybe it's expanding from there and determining what you want insight into so that you can then talk about it and having some direct patient care in the meantime.
Yeah, and make sure that it's something that you're going to enjoy, right? That it's not something that you're thinking, oh, I have to do this because I need this experience. That's part of it. You need the experience, but you want to be able to enjoy what you're doing as well. So if you're not keen on certain aspects of being a medical assistant, then, look at something else. Look at phlebotomy or, becoming a CNA or something like that. So very important. Okay.
Sia, how important is, I'm going to assume, Casper. How important is Casper as a person? Maybe empathetic, communicative, etc., but not a good test taker. Do they consider Casper if interview was great?
Good question.
I think you have to look at it as one part of the whole.
Yep, the data point. So to kind of play up on that, my thought would be, if I had concerns that, like, you were very polarized on your Casper, kind of concerning answers. Either you selected C the whole way or you chose really odd choices for answers here where I'm a bit concerned. And then I noticed some concerning things in your application. You're probably not making it to the interview. If these two things, your primary application and the Casper, don't really resonate, there's nothing wrong I can see with your secondaries, and you have a stellar interview, I'm going to think this is an outlier, right? It's an outlier. Not sure what that was. It's when there starts to be a pattern that it becomes a problem. But on its own, it's just a data point. So if your interview was great and you made it to an interview, which obviously they liked your application because they're stingy with interview spots, I would say it would just be kind of that anomaly.
Yeah, I don't think
looking at.
I don't think anyone's kind of been flat out rejected before an interview just based on Casper score. So
yeah,
it's just one thing among many. Okay. Anything else?
Please. Do medical schools look down on prereqs taken at a community college? I'm an older non-trad and my classes expired, and the community college is the most affordable route for me. So that is a reality. They understand that, especially for non-trads. So answering honestly, do med schools look down on prereqs at a community college? Some may.
Yeah, I was just about to say it depends. Yeah, there's some schools that have the prerogative, I guess, right? They can choose to do that. But then there are schools that don't care, right? You'll see that on their MSAR on their website, and they're, like Courtney was saying, because you're non-trad, that kind of potentially also kind of explains the situation or provides more context. I think that you have to do whatever's best for your situation. Maybe there's some specific schools that you've already identified. Man, this is the school for me. This is where I really want to go. Look and see what their requirements are around that. If they don't accept community college classes, then, maybe you look at different schools, but there will be schools that do accept that, and you have to do what's right for your situation. Potentially think about taking maybe 1 or 2 upper division courses at maybe a 4-year school, if that's something you can do. Those upper level biology courses aren't really often offered on the community college level too, so that's another thing that you might want to look into. But if that's the best route for you to do these prereqs, start out at a community college, and that's the most affordable way to do it, then do it.
Yep.
There will be schools that are okay with that.
Yeah, don't do them online. Okay, community college is generally still preferable too. And if you think about it, I mean, some people that attend like UC schools, and not everybody rolls right into the 4-year institution. Sometimes they start out at a community school, and then, when they're junior, senior, they go to the 4-year institution because they transfer in. So we have to leave, as medical schools, we have to leave our parameters wide enough to not block out anybody we actually do want to look at and look holistically at the application. So do what you need to do. I would say, if you can, if possible, take more than 1 class at a time. 2 is better probably than 1 if you could do well in those, just to show that you can handle working, while simultaneously taking classes, because then that leads me to know you can kind of multitask, you can handle certain rigors, but yeah, make sure they have labs, in-person labs. You need those for basically all the prereqs except for English. Anything you want to add?
I think you said it all. And I think.
Alrighty, we ready to end? Okay, so join us for the free workshop for interviews. Never too early to start. Interview prep. Get on track for that. If you want to do individualized sessions with any of us or the rest of our advising team, there's a sale going on right now for packages for individualized, like 45 minutes packages where we will run you through a simulation of the actual thing and then give you some feedback from questions we know get asked and that we've seen and we know kind of the outcomes for. So if you want to do that, there's a discount for a couple of days. MapCon is coming, right? Check that website. We don't know if it'll be recurring just yet. Last year we did it. It was virtual. This will be our first in-person one. And the people that are attending, all of the exhibitors, really want to see you there. So get there. Yeah. And we'll make it worth your while. So thanks for joining us for episode 159. As always, we will be here next week. Join us then. Have a great day.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.